What's up, Browns fans? This is Kenny Mack from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And this is the Dawgs podcast. Let's kick this off.
Welcome to the Dawgs podcast with your hosts, Blake Renneker, Zach Kopp, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, and welcome back to another episode of The Dawgs. It's been a long 2 weeks off. We've missed all of you. Hopefully you guys have missed us. Hopefully, we'll never leave each other again. We're always looking for more fan intros, so head to thedawgspodcast.com. Leave us a voicemail. Kenny Mack from Canada, that's one of my favorite intros. See if anybody can one-up them. I don't know if you can, but let's see what you guys got.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Thedawgspodcast.com, drop-down menu, hit leave voicemail. We'd like to play new ones every week, so get yours on the show. We have a ton of your guys' comments and voicemails to dive into today from our little hiatus. But before we get into all that, remember to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Please subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. We, the Dawgs, have also added a couple new ways to check out our content. We're getting with the youth movement here. We've made a TikTok.
Really no idea what we're doing.
No,
but it's working.
I've watched
People
my
like
niece, dance in front of a phone for 2 years, so I feel like we're not there yet.
I'm
not there personally.
Three of us are over 30. So, Zach should technically be, he's the baby. Yeah. He should have made the TikTok.
I have no TikTok skills, so you're asking the wrong guy.
I'm more of a pen and paper kind of guy. I don't know what's going on. I'm getting old these days. I don't know.
But if TikTok is your game, you can find us on there. Just search the Dawgs podcast. We already got some stuff up there. And we're going to be adding more stuff all the time, so check us out on TikTok. We've also created a Patreon page that we plan on filling with tons of exclusive content. We already have some stuff up there, and we're working on getting more stuff. We're also going to, kind of get your opinions, what you guys want to see on there. You can join our Patreon by heading to thedawgspodcast.com and hitting the Join the Dawgs option in the drop-down menu. It's super easy. There's different levels, and there's not a ton up there right now. Like I said, we're working on getting more, but the stuff we do have on there I think is really awesome.
Yeah, it is. And I will say, I know we were going to mention this later anyhow. Got an article coming out on dogsbynature.com later this week with Barry Shuck. We were tasked with evaluating the tight end position battle in training camp between Austin Hooper and David Njoku. And actually that article that I wrote from all you guys' input, that's already on Patreon.
Okay, cool.
So, and we've already gotten comments on it. People are already checking it out. So, yeah. So, early access to stuff, things like that.
Yeah, and to anybody who's already on the Patreon, or if you're thinking about doing the Patreon, that's awesome. I never thought anybody would do anything like that for us. So, thank you to everybody who's joined already.
The support makes a world of difference to us. We really do appreciate it. So,
yeah, and it makes. It's just I love putting out the extra content, and the Patreon content, in my opinion, we're a little bit more relaxed. It's a little bit more loose. It's
gritty.
I think we got into some Star Wars stuff on one of them. So, it's fun. So check it out.
Well, and the interactions in there is a little different because like on YouTube, you're getting, a bunch of crap from everybody, Ravens fans, right. And people jawing and stuff. But inside the Patreon community, it's Browns fans. So it's just a different atmosphere.
And to be honest, we want it to be what you guys want. So whatever you guys want out of that Patreon, let us know. We'll work to get it done. We want it to be, it's yours. We made it for you. So, help us out. Let us know what you guys want. Again, just go to thedawgspodcast.com, hit Join the Dawgs in the drop-down menu. Lastly, remember to head to thedawgspodcast.com/schedule to vote on the Browns record this season. You just go game by game and select who you think's going to win. Do you have we have some updates for that?
I do. I was ready this time. We're 14-3.
Okay, so we dropped. Last time, I think a couple weeks ago, it was 15-2.
I'm still fine with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
14-3 would be incredible. So the fans have us losing to Kansas City in week 1. That one's at 49% though. So it's almost a tie. It's not that's about 50-50. You know what I mean?
That's kind of crazy. I thought that would kind of be overwhelmingly KC.
Yeah. Yeah. It was for a while. And I think people are starting to come around on the Browns and their abilities this year. Now, pretty much everybody has us losing the first game at Baltimore. And then a lot of people have us losing Green Bay on Christmas Day.
Those are all games where if we lose, as long as we lose them competitively, it is what it is. Somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. Sometimes good games just go one way or the other. That being, I expect us to win those games, though.
Yeah, I mean,
except for maybe that first Baltimore game and maybe the Chiefs game.
If we go this season and only
I was gonna say, oh wow, okay, yeah.
No, I was gonna say if we only lose one game in the division this year, playoffs easy.
I mean,
right?
14-3, I would say is probably like a number 1 seed for the playoffs.
It'd be nice to have that home
That's
playoff
ridiculous.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because if we have that home playoff game, you're going to be catching the Dogs up in the Muni lot.
Yeah, you're going to want to be on TikTok for that one.
Right.
And I'm going to be hammered.
might be content just for the Patreon page. You might have to- just for that. But that Ravens game, I'll be at that one. I'll be over there in Baltimore for that first.
Really?
Represent well.
Yeah.
Represent.
Yep. That friend that I said that's a Ravens fan's got season tickets, and I get to be one of his guests.
Why didn't
for
he
that
invite me?
game. Well, you two haven't always gotten along when it comes to football opinions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're the one
So-
hurried him up on the tee box.
Right.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
All right. So again, dogspodcast.com/schedule to vote on the Browns record this season. We're going to keep that up basically all the way through training camp and up into the preseason.
Listener mailbag.
Kenny comes back again.
With the woo-woos, right?
Yep.
Awesome. So, we were trying to think of what to do for this episode. Obviously we're deep into the thickness of the offseason. This is kind of one of the only lulls in the NFL offseason. I feel like they do a really good job kind of keeping things. There's always something in NFL, but right after that, that mini training camp before you go into regular mandatory training camp, there's just a little bit of a lull. And we thought, what better time to do another listener mailbag? You guys had a ton of comments and stuff on YouTube, some voicemails since we were gone a couple weeks. So we just want to kind of dive into, what you guys wanted to hear from us as we came back from this vacation. So we're just going to dive right into it. TJ110 on YouTube asked, what player or players are you most excited to see in our preseason games? I know how I tackle this. I don't know.
Go
about you
for
guys.
it. Go
so
for it.
I kind of picked a defensive player and an offensive player. To start on the defensive side, I'm very excited to see JOK. Obviously, our first round pick in Newsome, I want to see how he does, but I just want to see if JOK's skill set that he had in college, if it's translating to the NFL. And, by all accounts from the rookie mini camp and stuff, I mean, he's been really, really good so far, very impressive. And I want to see how that translates against another team. Yeah,
I think that he's probably, for any Browns fan, one of the guys that you're looking forward to seeing on the field.
Absolutely.
Obviously, preseason's it's not that far away, but it's we got training camp to get through first, so you're going to hear a lot more about him in the news throughout training camp until that wraps up, and then we'll kind of get more focused into the preseason side of it. But he's definitely one of the guys that we're looking at that could be a huge playmaker with the scheme we want to run on defense and be just a huge focal point on stopping the two quarterbacks that you got to stop. Maybe three. Josh Allen still runs a little bit, but mobile guys like Mahomes and Lamar Jackson that can they kill you by getting out of the pocket and getting first down.
You could make the argument Josh Allen might be the most mobile quarterback. I mean,
I'd say he's number two after Lamar.
Because, that dude's nuts. He's got more rushing touchdowns than Zeke. I think you sent it.
Yeah, I sent a picture that he's got more touchdowns than Zeke since 2018.
Yeah, but like I said, though, the Cowboys didn't score a whole lot last year after Dak went down. But and we forget about Kyler Murray too. I think as far as mobile goes, but I mean him, Lamar, and Josh Allen, I'd say they're all more mobile than Mahomes.
Yes, Mahomes is a
pocket mobile guy. That's what he doesn't necessarily take off and run for first downs that often. It's more what he can do before he throws the ball because he's going to throw the ball.
I had to look up though. There was a crazy stat last year that I remember seeing that he's like one of the most. He's got the most first downs ran for by a quarterback on third down.
Yes, it's because everybody's dropping to stop his pass. I think Mahomes is almost comparable to Baker when it comes to mobility. Maybe slightly more, but speed-wise, he's not that much faster than Baker.
I think he's more agile and shifty.
Yes.
But speed, I'm with you on that.
Until you see him walk, and then you're like, man, how does that guy even move out there like he does on the football field?
So you guys have a defensive player you kind of want to watch?
I would say So I'll do offense first because I think this guy will get playing time in preseason. Mine is going to be, I want to see Donovan Peoples-Jones because I think that's such a crowded room. I want to see, and I guess, some of those other guys, I figure OBJ is going to be out there a lot in the season. Jarvis is going to be out there a lot. So I just, I'd like to see him get more playing time. A guy that I'm excited to see on the defense that I don't think we'll see a lot in preseason, but maybe as the season goes, is John Johnson, JJ3. I'm excited to see just what that guy brings to our defense. Yep. I'm excited for the whole defense, actually. The defense is just so...
You're saying that after what we've had last season. So.
I'm an offensive guy. I've never been like the kind of guy that's been like, man, I love defensive gritty battles, but like, I know what I'm getting out of the offense. For the most part.
And that's exactly how I felt when I saw this question too. I was like, offensively, not that much. And I'm with you. Yeah. DPJ. We've seen Beckham for years. We know what he can do. We've seen Landry. We've seen the tight ends. We've seen Baker, Chubb, like Hunt. We know what these guys can do. But what can Donovan Peoples-Jones do going in that the year 1 to year 2 for, like rookie receivers moving into that sophomore year can be very exciting if they take that next step. So I'm excited to see what this guy can do.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was, this is kind of a training camp into I think this battle is going to go into preseason of who that number 3 wide receiver is going to be.
Completely agree.
Because you got, Rashard Higgins that you brought back.
Yep.
You got him. You got Kadero Hodge that you brought back who, at times we were like, man, why is this guy, we need to get DPJ more playing time. Then Hodge got hurt and then he got it and he excelled. But when Hodge was healthy, he was the number 3. And I think it's mostly because of his run blocking that he can do on the outside. But he's a guy that, with Higgins on the roster and DPJ, and then you bring in Anthony Schwartz that's going to be looking for playing time, that he always found a way to be on the field. So I think that battle for the 3rd wide receiver is going to be something that's undecided almost until preseason. And that's really where you're going to get to see, who's going to fill that role.
I agree. I put in kind of a little bit of extra thought into this question. So I had like a 1A and a 1B on defense and a 1A and a 1B on offense. My 1B on defense, and I don't know if we'll see much in the preseason, but I want to see Jadeveon Clowney.
Yep.
I want to see, he looks like he's in great shape. All accounts, he's very focused on this year. I'd like to see him in the preseason a little bit and just kind of see what, if we can get a taste of what we're going to get out of him this year. On offense, I want to see Baker. Because I want him to look so crisp in this offseason. You know how some of these teams, like Brady and Manning and even like Aaron Rodgers in the preseason when these defenses are kind of playing these very basic defenses that come out in their one series and it's, 4 or 5 passes, touchdown, they go out. That's what I want to see out of Baker. I don't necessarily want to see him for length, but for the little bit of time he's in there, I want to see him have complete command of the offense. I want to see the Baker we saw the last 7-8 games last year. That's what I want to see.
Now, as soon as you said that, though, I just had horrible flashbacks to the Freddie season because that first playoff or preseason game, do you remember this? They came right out.
Yeah.
I think it was just like boom, 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 5 or 6 plays down the field, touchdown. I was like, well, that's all I needed to see, and it didn't work out that way. But I'm with you. If I want to see him looking crisp because we know last year, what he was able to do in this offense was just incredible.
And if you remember the rest of that preseason, so leading up to that scoring drive in the preseason, Freddie's first year, it was like we were on 3rd down and we had negative yards, and then all of a sudden we just got hot for 4 or 5 passes and scored. But if you remember the rest of the preseason, we did not look good.
No, not at all.
And we all blamed it on then Njoku's not playing or Jarvis sat this game, but we did not look good in those preseason games, and we all just kind of wrote it off as, we didn't have our star players in for bulk of it. And then it turns out we just sucked.
Yeah.
So I want to see the offense play. They don't got to play a lot, but when they're in there, I want to see them look crisp. And then my 1A on offense is I'm excited to see if we have a plan for Schwartz.
Yeah.
I want to see that speed in action. I don't want to just talk about it. I want to see a couple end arounds. I want to see, is it as advertised?
Yeah, actually, I was just reading some stuff on Schwartz here earlier today before the show, and I think they said it was his freshman or sophomore, I can't remember. One of the early years in college, he actually had more rushing touchdowns than receiving touchdowns. Now, probably because he wasn't being utilized as a number 1 or 2 receiver on the team because he was younger, but he had 5 rushing touchdowns. He had more rushes than receptions, so to me, that says get the ball in the guy's hands and he can make stuff happen.
Yep.
He'll create his own plays.
Exactly. Yep.
So, and he might not get a ton of run once we get to the season, depending on how things shake out. So I think preseason is a chance for him to really shine.
Yeah.
Not only on offense, but I'd like to see if he has a role on special teams.
Yep. There's a question in here too later about that, I think, right?
I'm not sure.
Oh yeah. One of the voicemails.
So, that's he's a player that I'm kind of looking forward to. So obviously I want to watch all of them, but those were just kind of the four that came to the forefront of my mind. Any other thing to add before we move on? Are you guys all good?
I think we're good, man.
Satisfied? Yep. Okay. All right. So Slow Z on the Patreon asked, say you had a Browns talk show where you can invite on any Browns legend. We kind of do. We invite them. They don't ever answer. Player or coach from any era, and you can ask 3 questions. Who would you invite? What questions would you ask, and why them? So I have a guy in mind. If you guys are still kind of brainstorming. Unless somebody wants to go first.
I can go first if you guys want me to take this not serious at all. So, for me, mine would be, I'm going to go crazy here and I'm going to say Josh Cribbs.
I love Josh.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So,
man.
Me too. He was the only, light for a long time in Cleveland, So, my question is, hey, Josh, in Halloween, I'll meet you at Kent State. We're going to go and do some bar crawls, and are you down for that, brother? Nah, that's my question. Seriously, I'm not going to take this seriously.
I just want to hang out with
I'm just trying to hang out, hey, bring the wife, maybe if you want me on Josh, Cribs in the house here in, a couple weeks, I'm down, man. We can cook some, whatever you guys do on that show, but yeah.
Right. Meth.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
I'm just kidding, Josh Cribbs. Please come on the show one day.
Yeah.
This is probably why
you just ruined that.
This is why they never answer.
Yeah, that's probably why. Yeah.
So for me, the person I thought of, it was Bernie. And I didn't necessarily have the biggest question, not necessarily questions. I just want to talk to him. Mm-hmm. He was here. When he was here, the Browns were good. Multiple AFC championship games. And then he stayed connected to the Browns organization through leaving, 20 years of awfulness, and now the rise. And I just would kind of like to get, his perspective on that. What's it been like being connected to this franchise for all this time, seeing the absolute highs we've had, the complete lows, an 0-16 season, and now what's he seeing out of the city, the kind of support and like the rejuvenation of the franchise, these last 3-4 years. That's kind of, I'd like to pick his mind on that.
I mean, he's always been loved. He's one of those. He's like a Jim Brown, just a beloved Cleveland Brown.
Well,
player.
Talking about Jim Brown, that'd probably be the guy.
Yeah.
One of the guys. When you think about Browns legends, I mean, he is the Browns legend.
Yep.
He's an NFL legend.
And I think it'd just be cool. And, he's came out and he's had to talk about it, all of his life, really, since he did this. When he retired at the age of, 33, I think it is when he retired. I mean, in his prime.
Yeah.
Kind of is there a regret there from, leaving the game so early? Because, I mean, he set all kinds of records. I think he played 7 or 9 seasons. He led in 8 of those 9 seasons. He was the leading rusher. So it would be interesting to see what kind of numbers could you imagine numbers he'd have put up if he'd have played 16 years in the NFL? I mean, it'd been crazy. So he was always, I think that's one of the topics that I would want to, just pick his brain about. Do you regret it? In today's game, would you have made the same decision, or would you, continued your career? Stuff like that.
I could be wrong, but it was like a coaching thing, right? He disagreed with the head coach, and he basically was like, I'm done then.
Well, I'm
going to go act.
That and he's always came out and said, there's a bunch of other things I wanted to do in my life that I wanted to be able to have the chance to do younger than, being in his late 40s, being able to do those types of things. So, but he's definitely one of the guys I think it'd be cool to pick his brain about.
Absolutely.
It'd be interesting to ask him about his take on the whole, mindset right now that running backs are, don't really matter in the NFL. They're kind of replaceable.
Right.
Just from that old school runner to kind of what the game is now, just kind of get his perspective on that.
Yeah. I wonder if he would because he was like the bell cow guy. Mm-hmm. How would he be like a Nick Chubb's personality of hey, I love having Kareem Hunt? Or would he kind of be like, hey, no, I want the ball.
I want 32 carries a game and let's go. Yeah.
Right, yeah, this is my team, that's my job. I don't need some other guy taken me out of the fourth quarter of the game to get all the carries.
Yeah, I know before the show I had mentioned, it'd be kind of cool to talk to Phil Dawson, but another guy that just popped in my head was Ernest Biner. Mm-hmm. I think it'd be kind of cool to talk to him about the fumble and just say, how has that affected, like, how did you handle that afterward? Like, how is your, like, you know what I mean? Like, just kind of talk to his mindset after that, because I was just looking it up here, and it said in that game he had 67 rushing yards. He caught 7 passes for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, he had a big game.
Yep.
He's only remembered for that one play.
You ever see the Believe One documentary?
That's where I was going to go. Yep.
Yeah.
He's in that a lot.
Yeah.
And I think, I think he talks about how, like, afterwards it was kind of rough, but I think Cleveland has done a good job. We didn't turn our backs on him and blame him for that. Cause obviously I don't remember, I was too young, but my dad talks about it still. My dad still remembers it like it was yesterday. And he's, he was one of the only reasons we were even in the game.
Yep. Right.
So it's it sucks that it happened, but I feel like he's still considered Cleveland royalty.
Yeah. I've heard him on some other shows before in the past, and he just seems to be very highly respected. I mean, he seems like a really great guy.
Him and Mac both.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It'd just be cool to sit down and talk to him.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I think we did pretty solid with that, except for Justin.
Yeah, you'll say that now, and then I'm going to put up a picture on Facebook.
All of a sudden, Josh Cribbs
doing
will be
shots
reaching
with
out.
Josh Cribbs. Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on here. Ted Nova 77 on YouTube asks, which of the 4 young D tackles out of Tagai, McDowell, Wilson, and Elliott will make the roster?
Oh, Jordan Elliott is probably starting week 1. So he's
coming out of minicamp. That seems to be the
So I mean, I think that his name is off the list because he's definitely.
I'm okay with that for sure.
And then so if you look at your other 3. The Wilson guy's kind of interesting, kind of the deal they gave him.
A large contract for a guy that didn't even get drafted.
That said they wanted him.
Yeah.
Right.
Or at least
that was
wanted
a bidding war.
So, he was a big guy that a lot of teams wanted. Now, we also gave that A.J. Green cornerback last year. You made him the big, so.
Well, and that's another thing.
Can you read into that?
Wilson, they paid him, a high, they paid him well to come in.
Right.
They didn't draft him.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? If they really wanted him, they'd have drafted him.
I say Tagai.
Doesn't make the roster.
He's the guy who makes it.
Okay.
All right.
I was going to say, I'm like
man, Blake, that take on Ohio State Buckeye.
Let me just say here real quick, then, looking at this list. So they've got Tagai, McDowell, Wilson, Elliott. Why isn't Billings on this list?
I see, and
He came in fat and out of shape.
No. Oh, I see. I guess I keep reading this as which ones won't make the roster. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, but I think that he isn't so before he would have been. Oh yeah, he's
a lock.
He's a lock. I don't think he's a lock.
I think he's probably a lock.
I don't know if he is.
I'm with you.
I'm not sure. I think we'll have to wait and see.
I guess it depends. How does he look when he shows up to training camp?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
If he's back in shape, he's on the team.
Well, and I know we're again June. It's mini camp. It's still off season. It's not technically preseason. Yeah. So I mean, do we make too much out of things sometimes? Yes, but at the same time, the dude had a whole year to get himself in shape.
And my biggest thing with him is, are you keeping him because you think, he's got NFL experience, and that's why you're like, because we brought in Malik Jackson. The guy started 73 games, and of his 126 games he's played in the NFL. So you have a veteran guy that you brought in that I think he's going to play a good role on our defense. I think that position we're going to keep 4 or 5 at least on display every week because they're going to have to rotate them out. I don't think that we don't have that one guy who's going to be out there and you're going to be like, he's out there 95% of the plays just because even Jordan Elliott, I don't think he's that guy yet. We kind of were accustomed seeing like a Sheldon Richardson was on the field majority of the time and like an Ogunjobi was on the field. You at least had like one of those guys out there almost every play. Now you're going to have more shuffling around that spot. So it'll be interesting, especially with how they're going to use like Tack McKinley. Are they going to move Jadeveon Clowney inside a little bit or Miles maybe inside a little? They've talked about having those weird packages.
I could see something crazy where your D tackle, where it's Miles, and then a D tackle like an Elliott, but then that other D tackle's Clowney, and then McKinley's actually your edge rusher.
Right.
I could see some like doing some mix and match type stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be every down, but I can definitely see stuff like that happening.
Yeah, right now, the defensive tackle position is one of the biggest question marks, I think, that we've talked about, that we don't know, what we're going to have at that spot on the defensive line. It's a deep room right now.
With just kind of a lot of unproven.
Yep.
Now, there's been a lot of comments and viewers on YouTube especially that have been commenting about Malik McDowell.
That's what I was going to hit on. Yep.
Okay. And we haven't really talked about him a whole lot on this show. We haven't really gone back through. And honestly, I don't really even know the story. So I was just kind of looking it up.
Would you like me to read it to you? It's rough.
Yeah, read it to me. I can chime in because I got it pulled up here too. But let me just say real quick that when this guy came out in 2017, he was drafted in 2017. He was projected as a first-round pick. So, I mean, talent was not a question. It was some other stuff.
Right. So he was drafted in the second round.
Seattle.
Right, to Seattle, out of Michigan State. Was supposed to be, he's all Big Ten. He's supposed to be, probably a starter, first couple years. Crashed an ATV, was out for, I think, a couple years. Then was sentenced to jail for 11 months for a series of crimes. Let's say...
That was the same year.
Same year. Let's say charged with assault, resisting arrest, operating a vehicle while intoxicated after an incident where he fought two policemen at a DUI
a very
stop.
Cleveland guy.
Yeah. I don't know about that. You mean like are we talking about like Barkevius Mingo on the side there? Is that what was going on there?
Oh, I knew that was coming up today.
So for me, like, I understand then the Browns have said, hey, we researched this guy a lot before we offered him, a spot to come and compete for a position. To me, I'm just like, ugh. If you're trying to... I don't know. It just makes me super nervous having.
Here's the thing. A lot of his like things that he was arrested for.
Yeah,
it probably all happened in the same night. I'm assuming.
I sure hope so.
I'm saying the operating the vehicle while drunk led to being probably in trouble with the cops, which then he fought back because he was wasted. I'm not trying. I'm not trying to excuse him.
No. So
these are all separate
he was
things?
arrested for driving under the influence on September 22nd.
Oh boy!
And then he had this 12 months of probation. Then he was arrested again in December for disorderly conduct.
Okay,
so tried to give him a chance.
I was trying to give him the
It's
benefit
not
of
an
the doubt, saying
isolated
it's just
incident.
one
No.
isolated drunken
No.
incident.
And so I think it's safe to say that, if it comes down to character is what's being picked over, hey, it's between Tommy and McDowell here. They're both giving us the same stuff on the field, but Tommy's never been in trouble.
No.
So
I think you're right. Tommy's a lock.
Yeah,
I mean,
like Tommy.
unless he comes into training camp and just sucks for some reason, but I don't see that.
I think
happening.
it's a toss up between McDowell, Wilson. I think
McDowell's obviously got the talent. It's just his head
got the strike.
Does he have his head on his?
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see, but I think
Good question.
It's a very interesting battle to watch, and I think it's going to take all camp to figure it out.
Oh, this one's going to be one of my favorite ones to watch.
Yep,
for sure.
And I hope they get it figured out, and it's good because I would hate for this entire kind of like how last year. I mean, at the start of the season, our secondary was decent until all the injuries started mounting up, and it was just the one glaring spot, a middle linebacker, really killed us. I would hate for this defense to be such a complete unit, but teams can just run between the tackles on us all day.
Yeah,
I would hate that. So hopefully we can get this figured out.
Yeah.
So we'll move on here. Gage Tucker from the Patreon asks, N'Keal Harry, is Gage Tucker just a burner account for Josh Hall?
there it is. There it is.
He asks, N'Keal Harry requested a trade. Would you float a 6th-round pick to New England for N'Keal Harry?
Hey, I will give Gage a shout out. The dude is on my team as far as N'Keal Harry. For a 6th-round pick, why not?
Because you could get him for free.
Well, you might be able to. I don't know if there's much interest.
Imagine if you went to the store and they were like, hey, we're going to throw this milk away in an hour. There's nothing wrong with it. Do you want it for 50 cents now, or will you want it for free in an hour? Like, it's still only 50 cents, but I would just wait the hour and take it.
So would you take him for free?
I would at least invite him to the field,
training camp,
and let him see what he can do. But I'm not paying anything for him.
I wouldn't probably pay anything for him just because of who we already have in the wide receiver room.
Yep.
Now, if we didn't have a Higgins and we didn't have a DPJ or a Schwartz that we were trying to see about, then, I might do it. But as what our roster and our team stands now, and just what N'Keal Harry's done, I would probably pass. Unless, I mean, I'm with Blake, though. If he was out there, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him in.
So to piggyback off you, I agree with everything. I think right now, not so much. Next year, depending on who's here, because there's a chance that one or both of our main receivers are not on the team. I mean, I would think that one of them would still be here.
Right.
I think if both of them are gone, we're bringing in another number one.
Yeah, Devontae Adams.
Oh, yeah. You said that very quickly.
Yeah.
Say it with some volume, bro. Don't whisper it now.
I don't see a world.
Well, I don't want to scare it away.
I don't see a world in which we roll on our offense onto the field and our number one receiver is a Higgins or a DPJ.
Or N'Keal Harry.
I mean, now if we're in a position where we're like, we want DPJ after this year to be our number one, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Because that means he showed out this year.
That means he'll make a
looking
great
at it right now
for Devontae Adams.
Sure.
Right. And when we win the Super Bowl this year, I mean, what's it going to look like if Odell and Jarvis want to leave?
Yeah. Yeah.
Looks bad.
I will say, though, real quick, after reading, because I've been following the N'Keal Harry saga quite closely.
For months.
Yeah, for years, actually.
Oh, jeez. I didn't think he was that good, man.
Right.
I mean,
I thought he was going to be something, but
yeah,
he's
something, all right.
He's something, yeah. He's looking for a team that he can go to and prove himself, and that's not going to be Cleveland.
No, he's not going to get the chance.
That's what I'm saying. Right. So as far as his interests and Brown's interests, I don't think it's a match.
He'd have to really show out on the scout team.
The last
he's not getting any reps in camp.
One of the biggest name teams that I saw that have kind of been linked to him was the Green Bay Packers, though.
Packers, I've seen the Lions.
He'd probably do well with Aaron Rodgers. Well,
he had Tom Brady
or Jordan Love, or whoever's
if he's going to be
Blake
there,
Bortles.
throwing the ball to him. But I wish the best for N'Keal Harry.
Yeah, but I do too. I honestly really like the player, but I don't think he's coming to Cleveland.
No, I agree.
So we'll move on.
He'll probably go somewhere and light it up, and then Josh will be right.
Yeah.
And we'll hear about it this year, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, or it can be like that Stidham dude who was garbage and didn't do anything, was terrible, and that quarterback
Justin
that can't
Justin
throw
probably
the ball.
got a list somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, hey, hold on. Let me turn out my burn list from Josh from 2020. I'm just kidding. I love you, dog. It's all good. All right.
So Norman Baldwin Jr. on YouTube asked, what defensive alignment would work best for mobile QBs, and who would you place on the field in each position? So I'm not going to go like position by, well, maybe I will.
Yeah.
I kind of like, I think, we're going to see a lot of that like 4-2-5.
Yep.
And I think JOK is going to be in the middle as kind of a spy, and then probably Walker as a run stopper up the middle.
Now, do me a favor, because I'm probably like many of our viewers, explain a 4-2-5. So just for the guy who doesn't know, or the gal who doesn't know defensive alignments. You're
going to have four D linemen with their hands on the ground. So Miles and probably Clowney at the edges.
And then two of the DTs.
And then two of the D tackles in the middle. And then two linebackers, two middle linebackers. I'm assuming one's going to be Walker. And if I had to, and then I see JOK playing a lot if he's who we think he is, or it'll be Phillips.
I like Phillips. I like Phillips.
I like Phillips because he's a great sideline to sideline
fast
speed linebacker that you're going to need against a mobile quarterback.
Yep.
And then 5 defensive backs. So you'll probably have 3 corners and 2 safeties. Okay. So, I think your 3 safeties are going to be John Johnson, Delpit,
and are you looking like a slot
Harrison.
corner?
And then Harrison.
Yep.
And then I'm thinking it's going to be Newsome at your corner or Greedy, but probably Newsome.
Yep.
Denzel at the other corner, and then Troy Hill in the slot.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think that, I like that your alignment is kind of where I was going along. I was just thinking that, defensively, your play, you have to have somebody that spies the quarterback, in those situations, somebody who's fast. It's got great eyes for the ball that they can see, on the read options, that they're not, losing their contain of and going for the ball carrier and the quarterback's got the ball. Baltimore does a lot of that type of stuff, especially now with Dobbins in the backfield, that you got to have somebody who's going to either spy, or you got to have your DNs contain the pocket. They can't get too far inside, because a lot of those teams that have the mobile quarterbacks, they give that to you on purpose. Like they make that to, they're going to give Miles inside because Lamar's just going to run around him to the outside, so trying to keep the quarterback in the pocket, especially Lamar, because, we've said on here, got to make him throw and beat you that way. You can't let him beat you with your legs because he does that almost every time.
I'll tell you one thing I don't want to see when we're playing these teams with these mobile quarterbacks like Lamar, Josh Allen, even Patrick Mahomes or Chad Henne. I don't.
Sorry, that one took me a second.
If it's third down, 3rd and 5 or longer, I do not want to see us in man coverage. You cannot turn your back to these mobile quarterbacks on third down. They will just instantly take off and run and we can put a spy on Lamar, but
he's going to get 5 yards.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter how fast JOK is. He's not as fast as Lamar.
Right.
Is anybody? I mean, we could put Schwartz out at middle linebacker and try to spy him. I mean, so yeah, we got to be it's not just alignment, it's going to be scheme. And it's got, we have to be smart with our play calls and our situational football when it comes to that. I hate last year it'd be 3rd and 8 and we go man and the dude just drops 3-step drop and takes off. And you watch the replay from his view and none of our DBs are looking back. They're all looking the opposite way from the quarterback.
Yeah, and I think this year with the Browns defense, they're more set up. I know we talked about we don't want to see them maybe blitz a lot, but I think with the roster that we've put together defensively, you can kind of do that on some third down plays this year. I think you have to keep him honest, to make him have to throw the ball, because if he's able to sit back there and you might have great coverage, sometimes with the mobile quarterback, that's a bad thing because now he's got to run around in the pocket and something's opened up that he can just leak out and get, 10 yards and get out of bounds, stuff like that. So I think that, with this offense this defense this year, being able to get some pressure on the quarterback a little bit more and make Lamar have to throw the ball in 3 seconds is going to be a big thing.
Yeah, and I know you talked about break and contain and all that. I feel like a lot of times, especially watching the Ravens, Lamar, when the pocket kind of breaks down and collapses in front of him, that's when he's less effective because he's got to kind of bounce out or, kind of make some stuff happen behind the line. But when the pocket collapses outside of him or behind him, he's gone.
Yeah, he just steps up and
soon as that, I just remember seeing a lot of times like they would rush at him, and then if he just step up and the whole pocket collapses behind him, he's gone.
Yeah, you almost have to tell your edge rushers it's almost like it's a contained rush.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You can only get as deep as the quarterback. You can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that in that offensive tackle, if you just go sprinting up the field, he's just going to let you.
Yeah.
He's going to nudge you past him, and he's just going to run. The quarterback's just going to take off, like you said. As far as some of the players, I gave the 11 I thought would play. I could also see we have so much depth and so much versatility now. You could see a Phillips in there at linebacker instead of JOK, and JOK might be that third safety.
Yep.
Yes.
Instead of Harrison, or so there's so many versatile pieces that this defense could use. It's gonna be interesting to see what Joe Woods comes up with because it could be different game to game, play to play, our alignment.
Yeah, I think that you're going to see some aspects in this Joe Woods defense that you saw in like the Greg Williams setup where you didn't even there were so many guys maybe up in the box or around the line of scrimmage and then you didn't know who was going to come from where. I think that Joe Woods has a little bit of that style of he likes to mix things up and not go by the book. He's not your 3-4 every single play type of defensive coordinator. He likes to mix and match who he's got on the field, so...
Well, that's if you're ready, I'll transition this real quick because actually the next question is a voicemail from Brandon. He's asking us about Joe Woods.
Okay.
So here's what he had to say.
Hey, what's up, fellas? I'm just wondering why nobody ever talks about Joe Woods. I mean, you guys may have touched on it. I may have missed an episode. I don't know what's going on. This dude plays zone 65-70% of the time. I can't tell you how many times he didn't spy Lamar Jackson or did, but only sent 3 people it's just unbelievable. We were one of the least blitzing teams in the league last year. I understand we had a decent line, but still, you can't just sit back in zone and let these elite quarterbacks pick you apart. And that's what it seems like he does. Yeah, the players are going to be better at the positions, but you can't just sit back in zone the entire time and never do anything different. you're putting your players in bad positions, then you can't blame them. If you look at everywhere he's been, from what I understand and have read, he's never been a good defensive coordinator as far as team defensive rankings go.
Do you guys care if I jump this one off?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it, man.
All right. So, to his point, I've been really, really tough on Joe Woods. Like, I was kind of one of those people last year that was just like, what are we doing? We looked really, really bad last year. But, I mean, there were so many injuries. There's so many things going on last year, so I kind of gave him a break. As far as spying Lamar Jackson, I've said this before. Ronnie Harrison was like supposed to be that guy. He did that for the Houston game with Deshaun Watson. If you guys remember, Harrison got hurt or had COVID. Something happened a week before that game, and he was out for that game. There's just another guy that we didn't have. Go ahead.
Was Joe Woods ever a defensive coordinator before he came to Cleveland?
Yes.
Denver.
Yep, he was
Denver?
in Denver
Okay.
in 2017, 2018. He was their defensive backs coach in 2015
Okay.
when they had the fourth best defense in all of football. You know, when they were making their Super Bowl run, and then he was there 2 years. He's been in the NFL since 2004.
Okay.
He's been with Tampa Bay, Minnesota, Oakland, Denver, San Fran for 1 year before he came to Cleveland.
So I will say this. I think we were all kind of tough on Joe Woods last year. Mm-hmm. And obviously we know about the injuries and he was playing with practice squad players and stuff like that. But I kept making the argument last year, and Brandon said it in the voicemail, I didn't feel like he was putting players in a position to be successful last year. I mean, we saw Kevin Johnson come over. He was a very productive player in Buffalo before he came here. Andrew Sandeo has built an NFL career on being a solid safety.
Right.
Before he came to, I mean, if you asked around the league before last year, any team would have been happy to have Andrew Sandeo.
No, I think we were excited as, you know, for him as like a free agent signing before the season started. And then as the season went on, he just became a running joke.
Yeah.
Right.
And I said that. I said, you know, Joe Woods, all these players have regressed in his system, and I was kind of harping on that last year. But then I think we talked about in other episodes. This is, at least in my opinion, I think your guys' opinion, this is kind of a prove it year for Joe Woods. As long as guys are healthy this year, there is no reason this defense shouldn't be a top 10, top 5 defense.
Yep.
I've brought up on the show that if we're 4 or 5 games into the season and our defense is giving up 30 points a game, he might be gone.
Yeah, I
don't like that because I hate the turnover and, you know, are we really giving him a chance? And now he's got his players in, but man, we got big aspirations for this year. And if our defense is the reason we're not being successful because we're not outscoring teams 35-30 every game, you know, there's going to be, you know, whispers of getting him out.
I'll give him a couple games this year because he's got 9 new starters.
Right.
But I want to at least, even if the defense doesn't play great, I don't want it to be because we're questioning the scheme or the strategy. I felt like there were games last year I just had no idea what our game plan was defensively.
Yeah, well, he got, and you know, a lot of people giving him a huge pass from last year because, he didn't have any players playing practice squad guys, all that. So, and then week 1, he gets all these new guys and he's going up against Kansas City. We're really going to see, okay, if we come out and we play and really well, be like, okay, hey, Joe Woods is the guy. You know, he's got it figured out. He's finally got some, you know, stars on that side of the ball. Because last year it was like, well, hopefully we can, you know, score real quick before halftime so we get the ball last in the fourth quarter so we can try to go down and win.
Yeah.
And that's how it was.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. I don't think that his job is safe. I think it's his prove it year.
I won't call it a hot seat, but it's lukewarm. You know what I mean? At least for me, it would be, you know, now I don't want to speak into existence, but if we come out and our whole secondary is hurt again, then, you know, what can we do? But if he's playing with a healthy set of players, this defense should be lights out.
Should be. It should be.
And I just don't want to question coaching decisions again. I mean, there were times last year where I was like, what was the plan? It's like we didn't even have a plan.
And last year was the first year for these.
I was like really like bummed about it.
No, I could tell. I was looking at you. I'm like, oh, he's not doing well here with this.
He's having flashbacks.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, man.
But even last year was the first year. It was for all these guys, and Stefanski same way. I remember being in a couple games thinking, what are we doing on offense? Like, Kevin, what are you doing here? And not that he was coach of the year. He was amazing, but even he had those moments. So we can chalk it up to that. But like you said, it's going to be a short leash for Joe Woods this year.
I think we got one more voicemail. Thanks for that, Brandon, by the way. That was good.
Great.
Yep. This one comes from Troy from Cleveland.
Hello, Dawgs Podcast. This is Troy Kozlowski calling from Browns headquarters once again from Cleveland, Ohio. Just wanted to say thank you for all the great work you guys put in. You guys are my favorite podcast. I wanted to see what you guys think about Schwartz maybe being a return kicker. I really think that'd be a great idea. I think we're stacked on wide receivers, and I think it'd be awesome to see Schwartz return some kickoffs for some touchdowns. Lord knows he's fast enough. Just wanted to get your guys' take on that. Thank you, and dog check, woof woof.
Dog check, woof woof.
Woof woof.
Well, I think that we're going to have to wait and see what kind of role Schwartz is going to have in the offense. But I think that one of the ways that they're going to get him some time in the NFL is he's going to have to be a returner. I just don't see him being a guy that's out, playing 30 snaps a game on the offensive side. I just don't see him being that. And maybe he'll transition into that, and there'll be certain packages, stuff like that he's in on offensively. But I think if he wants to make an impact on this team, he's got to really focus on, I'm going to be one of the best return guys, in the AFC, and just focus on that.
So I just did a quick search because I just could not remember. Anthony Schwartz did not return kicks or punts in college.
So call me crazy. I've never returned punts or kicks in the NFL. I don't love the idea of a rookie punt returner. Because those are the punts are so hard to catch. These guys, it's like a knuckleball coming down to you. And I would hate for us to lose a game because he muffs a punt.
Yeah.
Now, kick returning, I don't want to, I feel like there's a little bit more forgiveness as far as if you drop it, you probably have time to recover.
And there's so many touchbacks.
Yes. Yeah, you don't get many options to return a kick in the NFL anymore.
Obviously, I think Zach is right. He's not going to be out there 30 plays a game on offense. I definitely see him getting 3 to 4 touches depending on who we're playing against because of that speed.
Yep. And this is obviously pre-training camp, preseason. I haven't seen how any of this is playing on the field. I don't expect to see a whole lot of Schwartz the first quarter of the season. I expect them to kind of ease him into the role, whatever role he's going to have. I think, and like Troy said, we are stacked on wide receiver, but I would my ideal receiving, I guess, deployment this year would be the same way the Buccaneers did last year with Tom Brady. There was really no number one receiver. It was whoever's open. Some weeks Godwin had a great game. Mike Evans might catch 1 pass for 1 yard for a touchdown, and that was it for the game. And they would win. So that's kind of what I'd like to see the Browns do is just say, hey, this is our wide receiving core. We're going to run you guys out there, and then stats are going to fall where they may, but we're going out there to win. Baker's spreading the ball around. He's not targeting anybody just because. Like, if you're not open, you're not getting targeted.
I think you touched on something there, too. You said the wide receiver room's kind of crowded. What about just the kick return room? Like that special teams room. Mm-hmm. You have JoJo, Natson. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to get some touches there.
Switzer.
Yeah,
Switzer there still. No.
So I can see I can see DPJ and Switzer being more of your punt returners, and I could see a combination of like JoJo, Natson, and Schwartz at kick return.
Yep. Okay.
That's a lot of speed.
Yeah.
Which one do you kick to?
Yeah.
You just got to try to probably put it out of the end zone, and then what? They get it's 25 every time, or is that college? Is it still
25.
25.
Yeah, and then you still got Whatnot Johnson.
Oh,
and I
still
will
on the roster.
Something about Dearness Johnson that I just sticks in my head is the guy just seems very competitive. I think he's a fighter, and I don't think he's going away. Like he's not going to
hero award for the Mad Dogs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you drafted Demetrius Felton, you got Anthony Schwartz. I guess I'll just kind of see if I can this guy wants to make the team.
I do think going into camp though, he's one of those guys that
he's an odd man out.
If he got cut, I wouldn't be like, it wouldn't shock me. Just because it's such a deep.
I kind of would be just because,
Really?
well as that third string running back, I like him better than Felton just because he's a little bigger. He's been there before. He showed last year he could do it, and you know if he had to step in for a limited role.
Yeah, I just don't know what we have in Felton. That's my only thing.
That's it.
Like
another thing to look forward to seeing here. What's going to come of that?
Yeah, I mean, if the guy shows up in training camp and he looks great, I don't know, man. I mean, you used a draft pick on him,
right?
Yeah, but like we said, we ended up drafting more players than I thought we would.
Yeah.
Some of those are going to be expendable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So, you're right.
Well, hey, thanks for all the questions, everybody. I think that's all of them we got today, right?
That was it. And I just wanted to let everybody know that after this show, well, first off, we're going to be doing our Dogs After Hours show for everybody on Patreon. And then also we're going to be on the Fantasy Football Friends podcast. Well, we're going to record it with them later today. It's coming out later this week. They're doing team-by-team breakdowns for fantasy. So we're going to be breaking down the Cleveland Browns players for fantasy football.
Yeah. So that's going to be cool. So thanks for checking out another episode of The Dogs. Thanks for all the feedback, giving us comments and voicemails and stuff like that. We wouldn't have had a show to do today, or we'd had to try to think of something on the fly, and it probably would have sucked. So I appreciate everybody commenting, getting your thoughts in on the show. Again, make sure you guys check out our article on Barry Shuck series on position battles throughout the NFL. It's already up on the Patreon page. You can go check that out now if you join the Patreon, or just look for it when it comes out on Dogs by Nature, this week or next week or something.
Yeah, it's going to be maybe just keep checking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. It should be out.
Yeah, so make sure you check that out. That's dogsbynature.com if you don't do it through the Patreon. And like Josh has said, we're going to be doing a spot with Fantasy Football Friends podcast, so make sure you check that out. We're inching closer to the start of training camp. We're excited to be back in the studio to help pass the time with all you guys. I think there's only, 60 days, somewhere in there until the start of the football season. We can't wait. It's good to be back, and everybody, hope you guys have a good week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter at the Dogs Podcast, and become an official Dog Pack member at jointhedogs.com.